Hi, everybody. People have been asking a lot of questions, and I think this is a good opportunity for me to answer some of those questions. Also, if I haven't answered some of the questions you've been asking, the only reason I wouldn't answer you is if I feel it's just too personal, you know. And of course, if it's an inappropriate question in any way, I'm not going to answer it either. So just so you know, otherwise, here goes some questions because how this a little bit about my history maybe. I am the last of 6 children. I was born in a very small village on the east coast of Canada. I'm a dual citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen and Canadian citizen. When my daughter Bree was born, I was actually living north of Montreal in a small ski village. I had a ski school. I was part of the Canadian Instructor Ski Alliance. And Bree's dad was a ski school director, and he had been on the Canadian national team years ago. So that was our life. We, Bree was our first child, and we had a nice home then overlooking a lake in the country, at the end of a road, and a big 100-pound lab. So, we had, we're starting out. This is many, many decades ago. When Bree was born, there was no real reason for her chromosome deletion. There was no history in the family. I probably ate better than most of my friends. What I know now is different, but still, I truly believed, even though the first 5 years, it's normal for anyone to go, why did this happen to me? The sayings that go on in your head. I had, at that beginning, I love my daughter. I remember when the nurse first brought her to me, the love that hit me when I first saw her. I had never experienced that. So what happened is the birth was very traumatic. I had a normal, pretty much normal pregnancy. Nothing except towards the end I said to the doctor, remember I was in the country, I said to the doctor, I don't feel much movement. So they didn't have an ultrasound there, and I was, I trained up to have a natural delivery and everything. So Bree is now 10 days late, and I started bleeding, and I called the nurse, and she said, get to the hospital. So I'm explaining this because of the trauma of her birth, because, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So I really believe the trauma had a lot to do with what was going on with Bree. I know it's a chromosome deletion, but the severity, and what a fighter. What a fighter. Bree was fighting to be here, I'll tell you that. So I got to the hospital, and for 24 hours they were inducing me. Then finally, my Bree's dad, I just said they were going to send me to Montreal, which was like an hour away the next morning. And so I said to her dad, just go home and sleep, and he would come back the next morning and be with me. So that evening, every time I got up to walk, I'd be bleeding. So the nurse finally called the doctor back in, and they were calling Montreal, discussing it. So what happened was they gave me a choice. Not a choice, but this was the choice they gave me. Either we go in now with C-section, and we can guarantee you the life of your child, you and your life's child, or we send you to Montreal tomorrow morning, but we can't guarantee the life of your child. So my husband wasn't even there. They put me under. Little did I know what was going on in his world when, I was out. So the next morning, my whole life has changed. Something's wrong. They're not bringing me my child. Something's going on. The doctor was a wreck. He was just saying, I don't know, no one was giving me information, which for an information person was very frustrating to me. So finally they said that something was wrong with her eye. They had to send her to Montreal, Little did I know that when Bree's dad arrived, I was already in surgery. They were, all he saw was what he heard from the doctor coming out was it took 20 minutes to get Bree to breathe. And then with time, when the doctor finally got up the nerve to come and see me, he's actually sitting in the chair smoking a cigarette. I don't smoke, And he was saying that what I found out, took a while to get information out of people, was Bree was totally wrapped up in the umbilical cord. The placenta was calciating and the amniotic fluid had turned green. She was literally dying inside of me. That's what was happening. They induced her for 24 hours. You imagine the stress on that little one? They're trying to get her out of me and she can't. She's like wrapped up, tied to the wall of my placenta. So that's enormous stress. Plus she wasn't being fed anymore. It took her 20 minutes to breathe on. Bree was a fighter, always was. And if you see some of my YouTube videos on the stimulation program, you see what a fighter she was. And she was here. So, and she was going to stay here for the period of time she stayed here. So that is the birth, very traumatic. And it took 2 months to find out the diagnosis. You got to realize 40 years ago, Bree would be 41 now. 41 years ago, she was one of 800 with her particular chromosome in North America. When the doctor told me, it was a woman doctor, finally sat down and said to me, this is the prognosis. She'll be lucky to live to 5. She'll have seizures that will take over her life, even with medication. She'll never recognize you. She'll never move. Wow. I went home, cried for the weekend. Then I moved into anger and determination. Because in the sadness, you're very powerless, But then going into anger and determination, and I inherited perseverance from my parents, unconditional love from my mom, and just incredibly hardworking parents. They had a restaurant. My dad was a graduate of Guelph, but they had a restaurant. We were all born. We lived in the back. We had our house attached to the back. We're all born in my mom's bed. So, I came from that type of stock. And so that was where I was, and I went through the whole doctor thing. I even remember one appointment where they happened to give our file to Bree's dad. And when they did, he was looking through it. He loves to read manuals. So he was looking through it and he said, saw a difficult mother. Well, you have to be a difficult mother. I mean, I challenged everything. I started reading like crazy because there was no internet, no Google, nothing. Thank God I'm an avid reader. I just read and read and read. And, and I didn't. When we went through for orthopedics, their standard procedure is do an x-ray before you see the doctor, and that's radiation. And as I learned, I said, no, if the doctor says she needs an x-ray, I'll get an x-ray, but we're not. Of course, they don't like it. But then again, I'd see the doctor and he said, no, she doesn't need an x-ray. So I was always trying to do the minimum invasive and benefit for Bree long term. So there were a lot of, and my story of the first 20 years, Swan, that I have on Amazon, I self-published it, will talk a lot about that and the stimulation program I went through and everything. For 2.5 years, I lived with a stopwatch around my neck. I worked with Bree 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. The one time I went out and her dad took over was to go food shopping for the week. So I regret nothing. I wish I could have done it longer. I wish I had have had enough support from her dad to just keep doing that stimulation program. I did keep creeping with her whole life. I mean, me, down on the floor, creeping with her. But I could have done so much, but they're alone. You know, I was alone with Bree from about the time she was 11 on, and financially was difficult. So people have asked, well, what about Bree's dad? This has been a question I've seen over and over again. I have no hard feelings towards her dad. I left her dad, not because I didn't love him, because I was totally alone. It's funny because at the, we were in the sporting goods business. I can't make this too long, or I'll be going on and on, because it's in the book. So what happened was he was finally a teacher of special ed, and he got the job because of Bree, because he was trained in teaching. He went to Johnson State in Vermont. He was trained in that, didn't like it, left it, but came back to it because we moved to the States because I needed information for my daughter. You know, there are 335 million people here. There are 35 million in Canada, or 37 now. So there's going to be more information. And everything, all the books, everything was coming through the border. I mean, I think I was so determined. I look back on myself to do the best for my daughter. If I had to go to China, I would have probably figured out a way. You know, it's just, I just wanted to figure out. The doctors had nothing for us, which was great, because I found alternatives, because the doctors are not trained in nutrition. So it actually turned out to be really, really good. So what was happening at that point is we were living in Vermont, and I was doing the stimulation program, and I had to fight for everything. I wanted to keep Bree home because she was affected by allergies, and she was on a special diet, and she was so sensitive. And I had to fight for all that through the years. And basically, bless his heart, he would go to work, and he would then after work go to the bar drinking with the other teachers. All these special needs teachers, that's what they did, at least in this place. After work, they'd go to the bar and drink. So after a while, I had been, 14 years total, and I was just so alone. And I just thought, well, if I'm alone, I might as well be alone. And, we never argued. It was we were able to live and work really easily together, but it was that he did not share a vision with Bree. And the thing is that even when he would replace me when we were doing the stimulation program, he'd do it really, really fast and just get it over with, so it really wasn't done. And I think what happened is, which is really strange, because he was this really fit downhill skier. I mean, he was beautiful to watch him ski or water ski. And now he's physically a mess, which is sad. And so in the stimulation program that I did intensely for 2 years, she went from non-moving to, in 6 months, creeping up on all fours, which is miraculous. It changes your life. But he didn't see her get totally well. And I think something happened to him. I think even when I wanted to do the stimulation program, he didn't want to do it. I was the one. I was pushing to do all this. So all I wanted was him to join me in it. I didn't even need him to do any of the work, and I told him that. I just needed his support. I just needed a shoulder to lean on, at the end of the day. And, he was, whatever was going on with his own growth, we all have our personal journeys here. I'm sad about it, if anything. I'm not angry. The only thing that did frustrate me was during all of Bree's life, he fought me for her support, which was basically a rental car. He fought me. And I'll tell you the last incident, because a lot of the questions what happened to the father, was that he would finally, and he was always welcome to come with her. He'd only see her when he brought me a new rental, which was every 5 to 7 years, rental car, 5 to 7 years. The last time he came to see her, there was an issue with the rental. Won't get into it. Anyway, so he came, and we had to be in a car together. So he was like captured audience. And I told him honestly that, you know, he's fighting me for a year, and the state was fighting me over a stipend, which barely covered our food. The state wanted me, and it says on the Raising Bree video, they wanted me to give up guardianship to get the stipend. And Walter's trying to withdraw all support, the car, everything. And for a year. Plus I'm looking after Bree, a little bit of stress. But in the car, I said to him, it's my responsibility to fight for Bree. And she didn't ask for this. It's my responsibility. You know, and I told him, I said, it wasn't because I didn't love you that I left. Interesting. Then we go back to the house. He wasn't going to come in. I said, please come in and see Bree. Because Bree, every time she saw him, she loved seeing him. She just stared at him and stared at him. He didn't understand, but she was happy to see him. So there was a couch and a chair. Bree was sitting in the chair. Her dad sat on the couch, and the aide and I were standing there. Now, when I was like watching TV with Bree, I'd be down on the floor with her. She'd be over her pillows, and she'd, you know, rub my hair and stuff like that, and we'd do high fives and stuff. This was different. She literally reached out and held his hand. And the aide and I looked at each other, and we went, oh my God. Walter had no idea what was going on. And actually, it was so powerful that when he left, and he never stayed long, 5-10 minutes gone, I actually thought this is the last time he's going to see her. Oof. I actually thought, because he's in such physically bad shape, I thought he was going to pass. And she was saying goodbye to him. I didn't realize Bree was going to pass, and she was saying goodbye to him, because it was so different. So, and that night, he finally stopped fighting us. He agreed that I could keep the car I had, and he was going to cover 2 dental cleanings for Bree a year. That was his last responsibility, 2 dental cleanings for Bree a year. You know, I'd fought years, and part of the stress of the years was fighting for her rights with him. You know, he never paid for university, wedding, any of that stuff, you know, all kinds of sports stuff that parents usually pay for. And we always were just making it by, you know, literally just making it by. I'm great at stretching $1. We lived simply. You know, I never went on vacations unless it was to a family's place. And I didn't go out for meals. I didn't go to movies unless, you know, a woman friend said, hey, let's go to a movie. I'll take you to a movie. So basically it was Bree and I, and buying food and keeping a roof over our head. So then there are other questions. Is Bree, how did she pass? First of all, she passed on January 5th, 2017. And it was very peaceful, just so you know. Monday, she was creeping around the house. Thursday, she passed. It literally was her kidneys shutting down. Why her kidneys were shutting down was her intestines were backing up on them and shutting them down. Now you have to remember, Bree was constipated for 30 years until I found out about green smoothies and more raw. But for 30 years, that's a lot of damage. And, you know, I had to make sure she had a bowel movement every day during those 30 years. So now, of course, I've got more knowledge. I mean, there's a product that I'm working as their trainer for, and the rep in their Midwest, and it's Ion Biome, which I think everybody should be on Ion. It repairs your gut lining, so your gut can work properly and the cells can talk to each other. I mean, I've literally had an autistic child, the family I was working with, within 3 weeks start to answer his parents. He went verbal. So that's huge. That changes someone's life. I didn't know about this with Bree. If I had known this product existed in 2011, I'm quite sure she'd still be with me and in the best shape of her life. But it is what it is. I wouldn't be doing all the things and sharing with people. So that's how she passed away. But it was very peaceful. You know, I was surrounded by women friends in the hospital. That was we went to the hospital at the very, very end. And she was being read out loud too with her favorite music. Anyway, it's still hard. So that's how Bree passed. How I started making videos might be an interesting one. I started making videos, and I'm just now learning how to do this on my own. This is the first video I'm actually doing on my own. I mean, filming, uploading, everything like that. I had a couple of young high school students, guys, these young guys, and my 8th son and his friend made Raising Bree. That was the first one. And then a nice young man, I knew his whole family, and I used to babysit his older sister when she was 18 months old, her and Bree, and we do yoga and read books and listen to classical music together, the three of us. He did the rest of them up until now. And he's now off, you know, he's older now. But I started it because I was a year with a legal aid lawyer and a disabilities lawyer for the state, legal aid lawyer with Walter, pro bono, for a year with him and with the state, because I didn't want to give up guardianship, but I needed the stipend, and Walter, I needed a car with Bree. And so I finally said to myself, I have got to become public, because if you're not public, you will be swept under the carpet. How many parents with the different states, they're fighting tooth and nail. They've got enough on their hands just trying to raise their children, and they're being swept under the carpet by the states and by regulations. And then with her dad too. So I said, I gotta be visible so that it can't sweep us under the carpet. That was my motivation. So when I started it, and I never expected the views that were happening or anything, then I said then my lawyer said, well, to Walter's lawyer, well, just look at her YouTube videos and you'll know who she is. And so that really, really helped being visible. It's also hard because then your private life is out there too. Now I'm trying to think. So that's how it started. Now, and then it was just showing. The other motivation was when I started, I'm this mom way off in this little tourist village in north of Montreal in Canada. Thank God I was an avid reader, trying to find a way to keep my daughter alive. And I had 5 years. That's what I had 5 years. I had to make this happen fast. Within 2 years, I found the stimulation program out of Philadelphia. So it was like I was, in my mind, working against the clock to keep my daughter alive. So, the motivation has always been to do the best for Bree. So then it was like, I want to share as much information, and then the people can decide what works for them and what doesn't work for them, of how I'm managing with Bree. And that if I can do it, and I am very normal, I have dealt with anxiety my whole life. That has been my biggest challenge, is anxiety. And of course I get a life full of stress. And, I have my fears. I'm just like everybody else. During most of Bree's life, there'd be one day a month that I didn't want her to see. So I'd go into the bathroom, sit on the floor, and have a cry. Just a big cry, just to release my frustrations. And just trying to do everything. When Bree was 27, I was with a great friend of mine, Annie, who she helped out a lot. And we were driving, and she said, "You need a van, Wendy, with Bree." And she said, "Drive my van and see what it feels like." And I was feeling like I was going to pass out. So she got me to the hospital, and they kept me overnight. They did a CAT scan, and another girl, women friends, thank God for women friends. Another friend, Renee, stayed with our dog, Mikey, who is Bree's dog, and Bree, and they did a CAT scan. The doctor came in the next morning. He's one of the old-time doctors, great guy, and he said, "Wendy, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you, but no one does what you've done alone for 27 years. And he said the pain in your side you're feeling, he said students get that, stress, studying at university, because I lived in a college town. So, and by the way, this is Truffles, my last responsibility, my last dog. And so I had this, basically it was a collapse, but that's when I had this amazing caseworker for Health and Human Services that she said, "Wendy, we're calling a meeting. You need more aid support here." Because I said, "I don't need these other things. I need what I'm doing." I said, "Someone to pay for the vitamins and, just make it easier." So she called a meeting, and that woman was amazing. She came in and she'd take notes the whole time. She was a worker, and she was working for the families. Absolutely. She had a hard time because she was so working for the families that I don't think the state appreciated it. She went to the top of Health and Human Services. We had to go twice. So I go into a meeting, and there's got to be 20 people around the table, Jean and myself. She's got her file. The woman, I'll always be grateful to her. And they're trying to say that I have been given all the services I need. I didn't need equipment and stuff because I'm creeping around the house with Bree. I needed more aid support time. And they're saying that, and at one point she slams down the file and she said, "No, that's not what's been happening." And I told them my story and everything, and there were other people that day, which makes me sad, that didn't get support. But finally, twice up to the top, we finally got there. But when you think of the energy to have to fight, when you're just trying to fight for your daughter's life, and you have to fight for this support, and then there's the whole bunch of people that think, well, we can't support a special needs child. The most successful countries or civilizations or anything have been the ones that have supported their elderly and their challenged individuals. Those have been the most because they've had something to fight for. So, and they're, and what do? We warehouse in pretty buildings with flowers outside our elderly. We warehouse our special needs the best way we can. We warehouse them, which is, something I'm not doing. I've got an elder dog. I'm going to look after him until it's his time to go because he's my responsibility. There are people that won't keep their elder dogs. Really, because I'm old now? This is part of our responsibility, and something we're losing is, and we're losing, we've lost our health so much because we've bought into, all this processed food and stuff that, we're supposed to grow old and wise and be the elders. We need to get our elders back. So, you can check out, I did, when Bree passed, I did it was very interesting. January 10th, 2018, I'm actually staying with my sister in Canada. And she and her husband have this beautiful renovated church into a home. And things were shutting down. I didn't know what to do, and my sister and brother-in-law just said, come here for a while. So I went there and I wrote the cookbook. That's what I did the whole winter. That's the first winter without Bree. That was tough. And it was a cold, windy day where they live. It's very windy. It's flat. And I was really, going, okay, God, I don't know. Does anybody care? And I'm doing the cookbook, but will it matter? And so you're getting a lot of feelings with me here because it does mean so much to me. And I'm out walking. I came back, went on the computer, after just, because I sort things out walking. You work your left and right side of your brain, and the best way to sort things out all through Bree's life, I'd go for a walk, wear sunglasses, I'd cry, but I'd work things out. And I came back, got on my computer, and there was an email asking me to do a TEDx talk in San Diego in May. And I knew it was a sign because that was the anniversary of Bree's funeral. Could have been any other day. Could have been a week earlier, 2 weeks later, the day after. It was the day. So I knew, yeah. I'd have to get myself to San Diego and figure this out. I don't like to fly. But for Bree, I'll do it. So that's how the TEDx came about. And then I wrote the cookbook, and then I had enough time to do the kids' book on Mikey and Bree, because he just loved her and how he came into our life. So many miracles, so many synchronicities, things that, I'm sorry, couldn't be by accident. There's no way. How her dog came into our life, we're talking about maybe a 5-minute chance of that happening. And I've written it in a little kid's book. And that's why I called it A Gift from Gracious, because my mom's nickname was Gracious. And really like she had set it up, for him to be with Bree. So that's her dad. I do wish him well. I care for him. He's been remarried almost from the beginning. It's sad to see him so he's obese. It's sad to see him so physically unhealthy when I remember him as this amazing, in shape, downhill skier going through those gates, and in the summer water skiing. Oh my God, with the spray coming up, I can still see it. It was just wonderful. I wish he knew. And appreciated himself, but he just is hiding away, But, and he missed out on Bree. So, that's sad for him, because he has no idea what he missed out on being graced for almost 37 years. 2 months short of 37 years, he missed out on the grace of Bree. What I'm doing now is I have moved 9 times since Bree passed. I'm still finding my way. I'm repping in the Midwest for a company called ION, which is Dr. Zach Bush. Brilliant doctor, triple board certified. Go on YouTube and listen to him. He is 100% of the profits go to regenerative farming. He is really working to save the planet. And this is a soil-based derivative that heals your gut lining, heals the tight junctures that hold your gut together. Your gut's lining is half a hair follicle thick. That's it. And it's held together by like Velcro type things. But the thing is, people don't realize glyphosate, Roundup, is in 75% of our air, soil, and water, no matter what you do. And behind those joints is where your immune system. So when you have leaky gut, and we all have it because of what's in the air, it compromises your immune system. The other thing is anxiety. 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut lining. 50% of your dopamine. This is your anxiety. Leaky gut, you're not going to be able to deal with life as well. So, it would have helped Bree so much. With me, I'm calmer. I'm steadier. my thinking's clearer, because I don't have any physical challenges. So I love it, and when I can help, like that autistic kid going verbal, his parents saying, "What you did today?" and he's answering them. Oh my God, that's huge. That's just huge. Helps him, helps it all. So I will look for questions, but remember, if you don't get an answer, it's because it's just it's personal, or it feels inappropriate for me to answer you. Where I go next, I'm learning about how to do the video work on my own. I want to do some more writing. I'm not making enough money. Fortunately, I'm in this camper for the summer, some really good friends. I'm enjoying it. I'm learning how to cook in a camper. So we'll do some of that, because the more different ways that I have to experience cooking to still eat well is, I can bring it to you. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can still maintain a healthy lifestyle and a health of well-being. I will share the new things I've been learning this summer and through COVID. One of the things is through COVID is I started improving my French on Duolingo, which is great for your brain. So, think about another language, and Duolingo, I've done it free for 514 days. It's possible to do that. And I just do it every day. So that's been a really good thing. I also started Transcendental Meditation. I've been meditating on and off for years, but I saw a YouTube video with John Hegley. He's a physicist, and he was talking about it. And then there's this movie director. Of course, I can't remember his name right now. He's been doing it for 46 years. And it didn't cost me next to nothing, like $25 4 times over 4 months to be initiated. And basically, I've got a little app on the phone, and it's 20 minutes twice a day. And that is really valuable, because that is meditation. I'll do a video on that, all the benefits of just meditation. And this particular meditation, there's been more studies done on it than any other form. Real simple, easy to do. So those are 2 really, really good things that I've done. And the moving around, I'd like to find a home base. But, I have to trust. I'm learning to trust. I'm learning that spirit, there's a reason for all this. I'm learning to just be in today, make today good. If you make today good, tomorrow will be good. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough financially, but I'm making it, and I'm just trusting, and I'm doing what I can do every day. I regret nothing. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm starting over. Basically, I was off the job market. I mean, I was working harder than most people at a job. I was off the job market for 37 years, but I have tons of experience. I worked 2 years in a health food store as their buyer. Had to stop that because I wasn't making enough to find a rental. I was living with an elder lady, a beautiful woman, for 2 years paying rent. I've been basically living with other people, either paying rent or doing painting, interior painting on weekends, and decluttering and organizing, something like that. I have no idea November 1st what's the next move, but Spirit does. So, and the synchronicity, as I just do my work and meditate and eat clean and exercise and write and read and do research, and I'm working also part-time for a broker who has natural foods, different natural food products. I'm her trainer for ION, and once in a while I do in-store demos. I love doing that. I love good products that I use myself. I love sharing that with other people, because I know it'll make their life better if it makes my life better. And we have so many challenges now. I'm trying to remember if I've answered all the questions. A lot about her dad, a lot about how Bree passed, told you how she was born, how I'm making it now, I love sharing with you guys. And I know Bree's passed, but, you know, now it's, you know, still reconfirming her life and honoring her legacy and what worked with her and what I'm continuing to do. I didn't stop just because Bree's not with me. I'm still continuing this lifestyle, and I really believe if I can keep saying through all the challenges we have in this world and all the acceleration of disease and everything, I mean, at this rate, you know, by 2035, 1 in 3 children will be autistic, and there's no need for that. It's this, you know, it's what's going on with our society and the awful foods, the polluted air, everything like that. And, you know, I hope to be working with Dr. Zach Bush's company, be involved with this. I'm hoping to be one of the people that, when I leave the planet, I leave it better, you know. And let's face it, folks, the only thing we're all taking off this planet, not all the stuff around us, it's our soul, our spirit. It's the only thing worth working on. I'm down to what fits in my car, you know. With Bree, you know, we maintained a rental and stuff, but I'm down to what fits in my car. So I will be back. Ask me questions, appropriate questions. I'll answer them. Thank you so much. Until the next one.